Today we're going to be talking about the Ungoro 2 metagame and how it has absolutely missed the mark. But before we do that, let me go ahead and put on my glasses. Oh my. Now we really are in 4K, baby. That's right, I've heard your criticisms. The old camera was absolutely terrible and it had to go. This is just better. There's just no other way to put it. This is just a way better camera, and I'm very happy with this decision that I have made because everything just looks so much better. But you want to know what isn't better? Oh my lord, the Hearthstone metagame. There is a lot of drama that is happening right now within Hearthstone, where Stormwind lovers and Stormwind haters are just absolutely at each other's throats online, talking about how you're wrong because I liked it, you're wrong because you didn't understand the metagame, yada yada yada. I'm not here really to talk about that drama. What I am here to talk about though is how the metagame has completely whiffed, and there's one comment in particular from the dev team that I really wanted to point out at the beginning of this video because it really does paint a picture on why a lot of these quest decks just are not performing as intended, because their goal was not to break the meta with a bunch of quest decks that just automatically win the game because you play the quest, and I do kind of agree with that sentiment. But one issue that I do have with quests in general is not necessarily that they're not tier 1, it's the issue of they are bad. Some of these cards are just ridiculously bad, and I know that Hearthstone likes to do this thing where they sprinkle in an archetype and then later on down the line they're gonna give it a whole bunch of support, so that way it'll make this archetype flourish in a way that it didn't when it was originally introduced. Like Quest Rogue, what if they give us more shuffle cards down the road that actually makes this a little bit more of a respectable strategy? That would be kind of good. But the issue with the thing, like with the Rogue quest or with the DK quest in particular, is that some of these conditions are really hard to meet and really don't have a payoff that justifies all the work that you really put into making these strategies happen. And I think that's my main issue with a lot of the quests that have been introduced, is that these cards don't feel like they're ever going to get better, and that's an issue especially for someone like me that really wanted to make Quest DK into a decent strategy. So I'm going to be sad every single time I try this deck, and I just don't feel like cards should be this dead on arrival the moment that they're introduced and this hopeless going into the future. So I think that's where a lot of frustrations are met with current quests. So with all of that contextualized from at least from where I'm standing, let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening in the Diamond through Legend metagame, because I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not really all that exciting and it's not really all that new. We can look at the popular decks here in a moment, but the biggest headline here is that aggro is back on top. You have Pain Demon Hunter, you have Cliff Dive Demon Hunter, which is not necessarily an aggro deck, but plays very aggressively to end the game on the spot. You have Beast Hunter, you have Big Spell Mage, which can sometimes act very aggressively by popping off its possible Huddle Up combo as early as turn 5 because of the Skyla interaction, making this 0 mana. So you just storm a whole bunch of minions all in one turn. Seems like a very decent way of winning, and it really hasn't caught on to the community yet. I don't know if this is an issue of players just aren't interested in this kind of playstyle because it's very straightforward and very simple to understand and not really a rewarding strategy to play, at least not in my opinion. So it feels like this deck is good, but it's just not catching on for players because they just don't find it that interesting. And then at the end of the pack, you have Aggro Paladin. Not a really exciting metagame in the tier A column, gotta be honest, but in tier B, you have Elemental Mage, you have Nebula Shaman, which in my opinion is a super fun deck. You have Quest Warlock, which is unbelievably popular right now, and its win rate is very respectable. Dummy Warrior is still surviving. Protoss Priest is still the second most popular deck in the metagame right now. You have Firac Rogue sitting at the top of popularity, as well as a very respectable win rate. And then running the pack at the bottom B tier, you have Quest Paladin, Armor Demon Hunter, and Wilted Bandage Priest. So these archetypes are there, but there's really not a lot of people that are interested in, say, a Wilted Priest or an Armor Demon Hunter, even though 16,000 games is kind of a lot. But the point that I'm trying to make is that a lot of these decks just really aren't that interesting to a lot of players. So it really feels like, in my opinion, that people are just making use of the cards that they have instead of playing archetypes that they actually enjoy, and that's going to lead to a lot of burnout because the interesting decks, in my opinion, like the Stegodon DK, some of the Quest decks, like these decks are just really, really bad right now, to where Quest Priest and Imbue Priest, yet again, at the very bottom of the meta, you have Quest Shaman, Quest Hunter, you have Quest Mage, the Minion variant of the deck that sometimes is going to lead away from the spell variant. these decks are just not that good right now, and it's just very depressing in order to see this happen, especially if you're someone that really wanted to play these quest decks. So I just feel like people that have their deck at the top of the ladder are not that happy because they've already played these decks before, and all the new stuff is just running at the bottom of the pack, like completely unplayable, completely hopeless in some instances, like Quest DK literally not on this list, Quest Rogue literally not on this list because I don't even want to know how bad they are. We're going to find out how bad they are, actually. But in a moment, we are looking at top 1,000 legend data now, and we have Starship Warlock coming back. Death Knight, again, Dummy Warrior somehow is good at top 1,000 legend, which I feel like paints a very grim picture. We're literally in the dummy meta right now, where the deck is just going to play itself so simply to where you really don't have any other options. All these other options don't work. So just play the simple cards, just play the simple strategies because they're just working right now. Even Protoss Mage is making a comeback, which is kind of scary in my opinion. But we got Cliff Dive Demon Hunter making a resurgence. We've got Quest Warrior, which is still maintaining relevancy in Legend, especially with all the nerfs to the decks that it really didn't want to see. Firac Rogue is by far the most popular archetype in top 1,000 Legend right now. And it's just very sad though every single time that you look at the bottom of the meta, it doesn't paint a good picture, you know? It just really doesn't paint that good of a picture, and it's not a meta game that I particularly want to play in terms of I'm gonna grind to the top of the ranks, because you're going to see a lot of the exact same decks. The entirety of the ladder is pretty much just Firac Rogue, Quest Warlock, and Protoss Priest. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm very annoyed at Protoss Priest, and I really don't want to look at Quest Warlock the same way that I look at Protoss Priest. But looking at the popularity from Diamond through Legend, we have Firac Rogue, Protoss Priest, Control DK, Quest Warlock, Quest Warrior, and Quest Spell Mage. And this is where I'm going to go into a little bit of a rant on why I do not like it that these are the quest decks that are on top. Warlock is respectable. I like Warlock being on top, but the biggest issue that I have is that it's literally the only quest deck that is new, exciting, and powerful. It's exactly where I would want a lot of these other quests to be, or at least to almost be to this degree. But it had to get buffed. Like, Quest Warlock is only this good because its original quest of reward being 5 mana got buffed to 3 mana, which is an absurdly powerful buff, and the reason why a lot of people might have some apprehension to wanting to buff even more, because then suddenly it will just be a quest meta, and that's not the answer to the problem. We need a good mix, and right now the decks that are on top are not really a good mix, because if you look at Quest Warrior, the entirety of the warrior archetypes, by the way, are essentially just Quest Warriors. The only new card from the Lost City of Ungoro that's making any impact. All of the enraged and damage copy cards, those aren't good whatsoever. And none of the menagerie tools are good either. So it's just like, Warrior legitimately only got one new card this expansion, so it's just kind of sad to see that happen. Like, maybe you throw a Krog in the deck, but the point that I'm trying to make is that in terms of new archetypes, they don't really exist. You are just playing Control Warrior with a new win condition, and I like the win condition. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that if you wanted something other than Control Warrior, you really don't have that option right now. And then with Quest Spell Mage, the reason why I don't like this deck being on top is because it's not even Quest Mage. It's just Spell Mage, and that's the reason why the deck is good, is because of that 4 mana spell, that 5 mana spell, and sometimes Yogg. Those are the cards that are really carrying the deck, and the quest is decent in that deck, but it doesn't feel exciting. It doesn't feel new. And when you look at where the other Quest Mage is, it's not doing very well either. So it's just kind of sad to see the decks that I really wanted to be good are just completely bad right now. And the worst part about it is that if we look at the minimum games of 100, let's scroll down and see what's going on with some of these other quest decks. Let's see how bad they've actually landed. Like, we have Quest Shaman sitting at a 42%. We have Quest Hunter sitting at a 47%. We have Quest Priest sitting at a 41%. And if you organize them on win rate, like, they're oh, look at that. They're just at the bottom, aren't they? They are just at the bottom, unfortunately. It's just Quest Rogue, 30%. Like, what happens? Where did we go wrong? I'm ranting at this point because, again, I wanted a new meta, and we just don't really have that right now, and it's just very disappointing to see these archetypes that I was really hopeful for just completely fall flat. And I feel like that's where a lot of the negativity is coming from, is that these archetypes are interesting, but we just legitimately can't play them because we die before we even get to pop off the reward. So it is kind of interesting to see what is popular at top 1000 Legend in comparison, because you do have Fyrakk Rogue, you do have the quest decks that are maintaining, you do have DKs and control DKs, and even a Heron big DK, which is using Travel Security and Awakener of Souls. There are some interesting things that are out there, but if you're not interested in some of these very fringe archetypes, then you don't really think that Ungoro 2 actually did anything in order to help out the current metagame. So that's just kind of where I'm at, is that these decks are there, but they're just not that powerful, and some people have just completely given up because this is the third time that we've had balance patches, and we are still in the same problem as we've been in since day one of Ungoro 2. And now I'm going to suggest to you guys 5 decks that you can play if you just want to have fun. Some of these decks might be really good in terms of their win rate, but I am just focusing on the decks that actually make me want to log into the game, and if I play them well, I'm going to keep queuing up games. I really feel like there's a lack of fun archetypes right there, and I'm going to do my best in order to show you guys what I have been having fun with. So first and foremost, if you want the most powerful fun deck on this list, I would recommend playing Quest Warlock. I am going to be playing this deck a lot more frequently on my recent streams because I have talked about Quest Warlock already in a video, but now we get to talk about how it's actually hit rank 1. It's the only quest deck that has really had that good of staying power in the meta, and it is just completely taking off in terms of popularity now that No Hands Gamer has effectively hit rank 1 legend with the deck. He technically hit rank 2, but I think rank 1 is currently taken by a bugged account that has never hit legend before, so its MMR is absolutely skyrocketed. So he's pretty much rank 1 legend with this deck. The way that this deck works is that you can use Sketch Artist in order to draw out your Solarium, so you can make any card temporary, including your 0 mana cards, which are very good to throw out for cheap and temporary effects. You do have cards that help you maintain a bunch of hand space and putting cards into the deck, so that way you never run out of things to throw into the portal once you have that active. And then the rest of the deck is just either keeping yourself alive with Horizon's Edge, with AoE tools, while you're constantly bombarding damage with cards like Corpsicle. So this deck is a very interesting deck if you want something that's a bit more board-centric, but also has a lot of burst potential. The next deck I'm going to talk about is actually my most favorite deck in this expansion metagame right now. And the thing that really makes me sad is that this deck was kind of playable already, but Umbra really did help out this deck in terms of its consistency now that you can stack up extra Spirit Peddlers, but more importantly, you have Elise the Navigator as well as Infestation. And Infestation is just such a good card for this archetype in general. I absolutely love the new additions from Ungoro 2 into this deck. It actually made it better, and it made Octosari Demon Hunter into a real threat in my opinion. I'm probably going to be playing this deck a lot on my stream today, so feel free to come by twitch.tv/ClarkHellScream if you want to hang out. But yeah, I think that Octosari Demon Hunter is by far the most fun deck to play right now, because this is what a combo deck needs to be. There's a lot of moving tools, there's a lot of sustain, there's cards like Spirit Peddler that help you set up your Octosari combo, so that way you can play Arana Thrillseeker into Octosari into Return Policy in order to win the game. Sometimes you'll need both Return Policies to activate 2 Octosari Death Rattles to guarantee that you win. Sometimes you'll need to set it up with a Ceaseless Expanse. There's a lot of versatility that comes in popping off this combo, and it is exactly, in my opinion, once again, what a combo deck should be. You have Ball Hog to keep yourself alive, you have control tools like Infiltrate as well as Immolation Aura, and you even have high rolls from Elise to where you can copy the Octosari, knock it out with an Immolation Aura, so that way you can use a Return Policy to either help yourself sustain with Ball Hog or to help yourself discount with Spirit Peddler, just in case the Ceaseless Expanse did happen to eat one of those discounts, or maybe both of them. And then even if that does happen, again, you have Umbra to help out with the Spirit Peddler, or even Umbra to trigger another Octosari. There is so much potential with this deck. I absolutely love it. You can see the excitement and the passion in my voice, just me talking about this deck. It is my favorite deck in the metagame right now, and if you want to learn how to play it, there's already a video that I've made talking about it in great detail. So if you like Octosari Demon Hunter, check out that video and then play this deck on ladder, because I would not recommend playing this deck until you see how it pops off the combo. So it's not the most complicated thing in the world, but if you play this deck with no experience, you're probably not going to do that well. Next, we have the deck that I climbed from Diamond 5 to Legend with, and my original win rate with this deck was 20-2. And then my final score was 26-9. So I had a little bit of a low roll with this deck after I hit Legend, but the ultimate goal and the ultimate, thing to keep in mind is that I went 20-2 with this deck from Diamond 5 to Legend, so it's absolutely insane if you want to work on your Legend grind, because this deck is effectively just ham buff Shaman with some Nebula cards in it. It's kind of funny how there's not really that many new cards, but you do have Elise the Navigator as well as Flight of the Firehawk, making a very real change in this deck. So when you play your Flight of the Firehawk, you'll draw your Grofin, your Bellhop, your Turbulus, your Headliner, or your Alakir. There's not that many cards that you can get, but you've also got your Ziliax, and most of these cards that you're going to draw make copies of themselves. So the buff that you get from this is very important, and setting up like a Bumbling Bellhop as early as like turn 3, turn 4 is extremely powerful, especially when you're summoning 10-10 in stats, essentially. 2 5/5s with Taunt. And if your opponent's not playing minions, you get to throw that damage to the face. It's actually crazy like how tempo focused this deck can be by just playing Frosty Decor and then immediately following it up with a Wish Upon a Star. And it may seem weird that Cabaret Headliner's in this deck, but the reason why I absolutely love it is because you can discount Nebula, so you can play it sooner. You can discount Wish Upon a Star, which might catch your opponent off guard. You can discount Flight of the Firehawk to 1 mana, which is always good. Draw 2 for 1 mana, just absolute mwah. You got 1 mana Hex, 0 mana Pop-Up Book. It's kind of surprising how many times this card actually did seem useful, to the point where I actually would recommend running it in the deck. And then you have Living Flame, an easy card you can keep in your mulligan to always draw your Flight of the Firehawk. So this deck has a little bit of nuance to it. It's not exactly the most complicated deck in the world, but it's very important that you play your turns to maximum efficiency, because this deck can come crumbling down very quickly if your opponent keeps dealing with the board, and if you don't get your surprise Wish Upon a Star value. So Nebula Shaman, extremely good right now. I would pretty much call it a meta breaker because I don't think it's that popular right now, but people are aware of this deck's existence, and I would recommend it. It's a very good deck to hit Legend with right now. And next up is Rainbow DK. I will be working on this video. I have a very interesting deck here that I can't wait to break down in a future video, because we did technically hit Legend with this deck. I essentially climbed up with Nebula Shaman, and then on the final boss, I played this deck because originally at the beginning of the season, I tried to hit Legend all the way from D5 with this deck, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I crashed out. I peaked at rank 2 Legend with this deck and then fell right back all the way down to D5. And it's just kind of upsetting because I really like what this deck is trying to do. The whole point of this deck is to spam as many Eliza Gore Blades as physically possible. And the way that you do this is, once again, it is a High Cultist Heron Awakener of Souls deck, but this deck has a secret win condition that I feel like a lot of people don't think about, and that is Ghoul's Night. And the reason why is because let's say you had 5 Elizas die, so your minions have +5 attack. When you play Ghoul's Night, that means you are summoning 5 6/1 minions that can attack random enemies, including the enemy face. So technically speaking, you could turn this into an OTK win condition as long as your opponent doesn't have that many minions on the field or that much health. And this deck is just, it's a lot of fun to pop off with. Like suddenly your hero power becomes, a 6 attack minion, and then you can play Eternal Layover in order to turn that 6 attack into 12 attack. You have Animated Pterodax as like a way of having a lot of lifesteal and sustain. You've got Ancient of Yore, Zavis, and just like this deck is just really cool. It's a reason to run Rainbow Seamstress. You got buttons in the deck. It is a rainbow DK. I absolutely love this archetype, but unfortunately, I just couldn't climb the Legend with this deck by itself. But it is a ton of fun. You're gonna catch a lot of people off guard when you kill them with Ghoul's Night, and I just think this is one of the most fun decks to play in the DK class that can actually make Rainbow DK work as well as Eliza Goreblade. I almost never put this card into a deck, and it finally feels good that Eliza Goreblade does have a home in Rainbow DK. Would not play this deck if you're trying to hit Legend, but if you want to do some crazy things, this deck has a lot of potential. And the last fun deck that I want to show you guys is by far the biggest meme, and I would not recommend playing this deck on the ladder. It would just not serve you any purpose. You should play this against a friend. You should play this in casual mode, because the whole point of this deck is to make use of the minions that discover minions, right? So if you can get your Origin Stone equipped and you play your Treacherous Tormentor, you can potentially summon those extra legendary minions that you don't pick, and they also have the Dark Gift attached to it, right? So what if we build the deck around Zavis and we have a bunch of big minions in the deck that we want to give Dark Gifts to, and we cheat them out for essentially 4 mana. So if you have the Origin Stone equipped and you play Lord Zavis and your options are Gigasaur, Ziliax, and let's say Travel Agent, you pick the Travel Agent. Now the Ziliax and the Gigasaur are going to get summoned immediately. The copies are still in the deck, by the way, which I'm not sure is a bug or not, but the minions are still in the deck, so the Zavis just essentially just cheated a ridiculous amount of stats all in one turn, and it's just, I love it. I love the idea. I really want something like this to be kind of good, and there was actually a moment where I was running the Discover a Demon card, so that way I could try to hit more Zavises, and the fact that it's Discover helps me complete my quest. I thought it was a really funny idea, but this card is just really bad. There's I think 11 demons, and taking a 3 out of 11 to discover Zavis doesn't really seem like a good idea. But then again, you know, this guy's a demon. Maybe there's some potential behind it. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. There is some real potential with this deck. I love the idea of it theoretically, but then when you're actually behind the wheel and then you draw the Gigasaur for 4 games in a row, which is what happened the last time I played this deck, it's just what happens, you know? Like, you have to deal with the punches, you have to play with the cards that you are given, so to speak, and sadly this deck just, you know, essentially kills itself by drawing the wrong cards at the wrong time. But play it against a friend, play it in casual, play them games where the Zavis might have insane moments, and then you'll see why I fell in love with this archetype, because the potential is there, but the consistency definitely is not. But now that we've talked about all the Hearthstone stuff, I would like to address a video that I made about a year ago, saying that I would quit content creation after 1 more year if it was not financially advantageous. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, my income has gotten better since doing YouTube, and I am not quitting. So if you want to go ahead and just, you know, if you don't want to watch the rest of this video to completely get it, but for those of you that want the detailed rundown on why I am continuing to do content creation, it's a very simple process. Here was my subscriber count about a year ago, right? This is what it is now. I have gained, okay, well, well, can't win them all, as they say. But we've increased our sub count by about 7K since last year, and 7K in 1 year is nothing. It's nothing to be disappointed about. I feel like I've been putting myself under a lot of stress in order to be as successful as I possibly can be, and I haven't been celebrating the tiny successes as much as the bigger successes that have happened over the years. You know, like doing the Great Dark Beyond a creator event, for example. Like, I definitely want those type of opportunities in the future, and the biggest issue with content creation is that if I give it up, I'm essentially giving up on the dream immediately, and I feel like I need to have something else lined up if I'm going to completely abandon the ship. And right now, I don't really have any other kind of career path in terms of, like, I'm going to apply for this job, I'm going to go into, you know, technology, I'll go into the tech space. I have no idea what I want to do outside of music and entertainment. So one thing that I have been doing is I have been trying to get into other forms of content. And in my last subathon that was on the front page of Twitch, by the way, we did music, we did Pokemon, we did Marvel Rivals, and of course we played some Hearthstone. So it's just like, I really don't want to have to give this up currently, because I'm having a lot of fun finally making content that I have been dreaming of making. Like, I couldn't do this kind of stuff in my old apartment for the obvious reasons of hitting things and annoying neighbors. Now I'm finally in a house and I have this digital setup, and I finally have things just working. Like, I have a system to where I'm having fun now. And when I made this video about a year ago, I was in an apartment, not really enjoying where I was at the time. I unfortunately had a bunch of, you know, annoying neighbors and not a lot of space. I just felt like I was completely trapped, and if I couldn't, quote unquote, pay for an apartment with Hearthstone, then what was even the point, you know? But I'm making a lot more connections. I'm really enjoying myself more. And as you can see, we're upgrading, right? Like, we got a new camera that we just got. I'm hopefully going to be upgrading my microphone pretty soon, and there's just a lot of things that I actually have planned for these next couple of months, and I don't want some stupid arbitrary goal of, oh, I need to hit 100K in order to be successful. It's like, that's just not how this thing works. So I'm making not insane money, but I'm making decent enough money in order to afford this place, and that's really all I can ask for. And I'm really hoping that you guys continue to support me on my content journey as I do try to eventually hit that 100K, but it's not gonna happen overnight. I have a lot of deck guides planned. I have 6 deck guides planned and all this stuff planned out, and I just need to actually sit down and do the work. It's just, sometimes I get this feeling where if I can't edit a video in a day, it's not worth doing, and I just feel like that's a very toxic mindset. And as you guys can tell, I'm really trying to make a lot of positive life changes, especially with, you know, Hearthstone being in the position that it's in. I need some other things other than Hearthstone to make me happy. So for those of you that wanted the context, there you guys go. For everybody else that just wants me to do Hearthstone stuff, I'll still be doing some Hearthstone stuff. So those of you who made it to the very end of this video, I want you guys to know that you are definitely the GOAT. You guys are the reason why this channel goes the way it goes, and the reason why I keep doing this. So thank you so much for making it to the very end of this completely unnecessary oversharing of feelings. And we'll see you for the next video.